Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video we are going to be finding out how do they feel about you. But before we get into that, I wanted to just take a second, a minute of self-love, if you will. And it's just gonna take a minute, but let's all close our eyes. I want you to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. I want you to think of your heart. I want you to think of it as an orb encased in molten lava. I want you to think about how hard it is. Think about the surface. And I want you to start to think about something you like about yourself. I want you to cherish how great your body has done to get you this far in life. I want you to think to yourself, I love me, or rather, I love you. And I want you to think of that molten lava cover starting to crack. And I want you to imagine a light emanating from it. This can be any color you want. I'm going to talk about a green color for the heart chakra. And this green light starts to pierce through. And you can breathe a little bit easier. I want you to breathe in. I want you to breathe out. And with that breath out, a piece falls off and you can see a shining, bright layer underneath. I want you to think of another nice thing about yourself and think about how that has benefited other people. I want you to say to yourself, I am lovely, just the way I am. Another piece of that molten lava has fallen off. You can breathe a little bit easier. You feel a little bit more warm in that area. You start to smile because you are lovely. I want you to think to yourself, I have always been enough. The rest of those pieces fall away into the abyss, and you see this bright, shining green orb illuminating, getting bigger and bigger. I want you to think, I send love easily. I receive love easily. I embody love easily. And I want you to take one more breath in, one more breath out. And now we can start this reading in a really nice, happy vibe. Guys, we've got 4 groups in front of us. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm really excited to say that these crystals have volunteered to join us, so I'm very happy they're here. We've got the others observing off to the side. And I'm gonna give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate with most. We have pink opal, yellow jasper, green malachite. And I actually thought this was a gate, but I recently found out this was actually Grazel Rose Quartz. The more you know. I'm gonna give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate with. Now that you have, you can skip down to the description where your designated group and mark stamp are written. But let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's find out how do they feel about you by looking at the cards. We've got Talisman Oracle card, Aquamarine Oracle card. This is a vibe. Okay. 3 of Cups in reverse, the Fool card upright, King of Swords in reverse, Judgment upright, and King of Cups upright. This is a vibe and a half. This is some mixed energy. Okay, if you feel confused in your situation with them, that is completely understandable from what's going on, because there is this kind of reading between the lines caution vibe going on. Like they feel cautious around you and there's a lot of resistance, but then, which is like, okay, it's like their inner system working out and thinking that they, for some reason, need to stay away from you for whatever reason. Maybe they think that you wouldn't be a good match or whatever that be. I mean, you just kind of have to respect that sometimes it works out that way. However, they are very focused on you. They feel that you're worth the quote unquote risk. But then the way they say that things don't work out, and then the perspective of the things that they're almost resisting or hiding from you, they also view negatively. So this person seems like they're all over the place. It feels like somebody who's simultaneously, I'm so sorry if you can hear an insanely loud like car in the background. It feels like they're very wise, but there's almost a lot of stupidity, if you will. Let's get into the specifics here, because I have not had a spread like this in a while. So the talisman card is pointing out how they feel that there are some sort of like, you're some sort of trap to them, some sort of risk. But this is a positive card saying that they know themselves well enough and that they should venture towards you and see what's going to work out here, because they can ultimately make the best decisions and know what to do and when to kind of duck out. But that almost feels like an indirect insult, if you will. And that kind of concept continues over here in the aquamarine. I do have compliments. I do want to point this out. But that concept of this passive aggressive vibe continues in the aquamarine. This talks about the idea of understanding that at the end of the day, no matter what kind of chaos is happening, they can trust that they will have mental clarity and they will be able to see through all of this. So it's funny, I'm getting pulled both ways. It's like that's both their perspective, but they also see you as someone very wise and focused simultaneously. It's like there's chaos and focus, chaos and focus. Either way, some bizarre things to pick up. But then this idea continues and turns more complementary over here with this interaction between the Fool card and the Three of Cups in reverse. So they seem like they want to keep you away from their friends. And they think that the two of you wouldn't be a good social match, essentially. This isn't always necessarily a bad thing. You can have the love of your life and not be super close or just feel like you vibe personally with their friends and still have a great relationship. So that's fine. And plus, they just might not like the same things you like. That's not a big deal. But I'm seeing in the Three of Cups in reverse, they also don't think the highest of their friends. So that's almost a compliment towards you, because they're saying, I don't want you to have to be around that. I don't think that's the best. So if you feel like there's some sort of resistance socially, it's actually a good thing. There's a sense of cherishness around you and knowing when to kind of introduce you and not introduce you. You know what I mean? Like what you don't see is, it's like ignorance is bliss in this matter. But then we have the Fool card, which is really sweet. In some ways, it can be a little bit of, an insult by the term the Fool, but in fact, actually, what they see you as someone new and special, someone they've never experienced before. I think that's why the danger vibes come up. It's like they're not quite sure how to process you as a person, which again is not necessarily bad. They don't feel that your newness is a bad vibe. It's just, I think they're a little bit overwhelmed by it. And so that's where the kind of internal system of thinking it needs to protect itself, like we talked about in the talisman and the aquamarine, is popping up. They trust themselves well enough that it's still worth moving forward, but it's like they kind of have to get used to your new vibe, the Fool card, when it's upright, pops up when people have totally different perspectives. This can be belief systems, backgrounds, whatever that may be. But we can see in the King of Swords, this is a little confusing and a bit of a warning card. I will just say this. King of Swords is not always the most positive thing you want to get in a relationship spread, to be honest with you. In this case, I don't feel it has the serious undertones that it normally carries. This more feels like this vibe of control. I'll just let you know that it can have some pretty serious ramifications, and so just be warned if you notice anything not right about them personally. But in this case, it's control over themselves and how they're viewing it and how they're processing it. And I'm using it more in a gentler tone, which means like that's where the, keeping you away from their friends and feeling like they need to process who you are over here and understand this over there. It's like they're compartmentalized in order to properly digest all of this newness, because again, it's just so overwhelming. Again, not a bad thing. It's like you're totally broadening their world, but that broadening their world spectrum takes it from like maybe a 10 to a 300 when we have the judgment card upright. It seems like you're almost there, like you're a gift and a test from the universe to them. You are just kind of so wonderful and have got such a great perspective on life. And you are truly this opposing, you think about things and your mind is in a totally different direction where they are at on a normal basis internally. I do want to point this out. This is an internal thing. They would appear for the most part run of the mill, like you wouldn't even know that all this other opposing mindsets that you personally have inside are underneath, if that makes sense. But you're kind of like, they're doing some sort of work, like in the talisman talks about somebody who has earned the experience earned this wisdom through experience, and it's like a compliment from the universe of being like, you've got this. So you kind of pop up in their life as the universe being like, okay, you want to be more open-minded, here you go, here's this lovely person, are you down with this? Because this is secretly what they're working towards. So this is somebody, as long as this isn't popping up the way that we hope it's not, I don't think it is, that's not the vibe I'm getting, this person is worth getting to know despite all this resistance and confusing feelings they are exhibiting towards you, because they're trying to get on your level. That's the aim, that's the goal. There's not what seems like resistance is just them trying to fathom and understand you essentially and get to the King of Cups essentially. But I do want to point out the King of Cups. It's as important, because the King of Cups not only shows the destination they're trying to, this is somebody who's a master of their emotions, and they're able to process a lot of like difficult emotional situations in their complexity all at once. And so that takes a lot of maturity and being able to be sort of like a devil's advocate. But this is their sort of underlying fear of it all. Because again, you are not as closed off as they still are, there's this fear that you're so wonderful, you're so thriving, that you're going to find it somewhere else. And by just you kind of looking over there, just simply being a normal person, having multiple friends or interests or other people, don't be surprised if, I don't want to say jealousy comes out, but like a fear-based, like, please hang out with me. And I don't think it's your responsibility. I'll be honest with you. I'm all about compassion. You know me, if you watch my readings regularly, I'm all about compassion. But in this case, you shouldn't have to be the one to comfort them. Them understanding this and comforting themselves is more their journey and their goal, and they will do that and they will work on that. But yes, you can be like, listen, I'm just acknowledging I have other friends. What are you talking about? I think you misread the situation, and you can like let them know there's no harm. Like, when you accidentally catch somebody and they say something with a tone, and then you think that somebody has like attitude with you, and they're like, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it to come out that way. Genuinely, it's like that. It's like, obviously you have no attitude, you have no tone, you're not doing anything wrong, but their insecurities might pop up. So overall, how do they think of you? They think of you pretty, it's huge compliments, but you're kind of so amazing, so great, so out of their wheelhouse, so new, that it's definitely challenging their inner belief system, and they're processing it that. They're actively overcoming it and working on it, but things that seem confusing or weird are just them digesting and understanding stuff. So if you want to, definitely it's worth the patience, because it's really cool that someone wants to get on your level. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's bumpy getting there. But yeah, so pretty cool. I'm again, just such a wild spread and vibe I'm picking up, but That's the human way, right? If you enjoyed this reading, please consider giving this video a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. I am wishing you the best and looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2, let's find out how do they feel about you by looking at the cards. Your oracle card is Solitude Upright. Okay, we already got a vibe here. Your other oracle card is Hematite. You got Queen of Swords upright, the Emperor in reverse, Four of Wands upright, Strength card upright, and Eight of Pentacles in reverse. All right, Spirit is here loud and clear. And the thing with tarot that I absolutely love is that sometimes you'll get like double narratives going in. So we're getting both the narrative of how they feel about you and what they think of you. And simultaneously, we have Spirit basically giving its opinion, their opinion, sorry, not its. And so essentially, we're going to go over all that because it's definitely some food for thought going on here. So the first thing is I just want to point out Solitude and Hematite. These are very interesting things to get because Hematite, when it shows up in a relationship-oriented spread, this is talking about needing to be grounded more. That gets actually repeated here in the Emperor, and we'll get a lot more detailed about that. But it's when somebody basically needs to make more of an effort. And we're talking about them, not how they feel about you, as in it's basically that subtext of they need to make more of an effort towards you because they're taking you for granted. That you're pretty wonderful, you're a pretty positive influence in their life, and they're not stepping up to the plate enough, and they really need to. So this is like basically Spirit popping in and being like, they need to know better, especially when we have the Solitude card. But it does give us some sort of like understanding of where they're coming from, because they're not just simply like, you know, a monster or anything like that. We all need to understand where people are coming from. And this is a bit of a fear-based concept. Solitude is when they feel they are pulling away from you or more restricted. Maybe you've been ghosted recently or something like that, because they are afraid if they make a move, something will happen. And so it's easier to be alone than take the risk with all of these fear-based mindsets. But the fear-based mindset is only because they need to be grounded. That is, again, repeated. Now we can get more specific with the Emperor in reverse. It shows they're not grounded. It shows that they're acutely aware something is wrong in their, we'll call it the foundation system of their belief. This often pops up when people get like triggered really often and they don't know where it's coming from or why, and they're a little bit all over the place because, and I'll be honest with you, what Spirit's telling me is that they are aware something's off and wrong, and that's why they're kind of pulling away from you, but they don't know exactly what it is to fix it. And the issue is just kind of that core, you know, your core belief system of like trust. Do they simply trust at all in anything, the universe, themselves? You know, maybe they feel like they've been neglected or hurt, that really just like ruined their perception of even love. You know what I mean? Something's off there that needs to be given some positive affirmations, love, shadow work, that type of thing. Now, I will just say this though. There is the positive affirmation or omen with the Four of Wands that, you know, if you guys make an effort and people put in, you know, the time, yes, you guys can totally move to the next level and do something about this Emperor. And this is the big type of steps. This is like defining the relationship, moving in together, that type of thing. But I do want to point out that something that will help a lot with the grounding, that will at least be a big start, so to speak, is with the Queen of Swords. This is just a super honest conversation, but this is something important to note. It's not a conversation to be mean, but it's also not a conversation where you're constantly holding their hand and being so gentle that they miss the point. It's about starting the conversation with an intention of saying, hey, can we talk? Let's talk about this. Listen, we're going to be frank. Please don't be defensive, but let's be honest, because I respect and love you that much or care about you that much that it's worth just just getting it out and figuring out what's going on both our ends, because I don't even think you're being honest with yourself. That's like the best way to put it. And essentially this sort of truth helps a lot with the grounding with the Emperor, and really just kind of is a huge leap and bound to the growing together. So yes, are they into you? For sure. They would like it even to go further. They're just not quite sure how to get there next. I'll just put this out on the table. Besides, like, we don't see a lot of other vibes. Like, it's more of like their insecurities are coming through. But the major thing that's popping up in the strength card is essentially they find you extremely attractive, like above and beyond. They're just very, 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 very drawn to you. But there is a bit of a warning coming in again from Spirit when we have the 8 of Pentacles in reverse. This shows that there is a dysfunction right now in this relationship, not only from the grounding, but when we feel ungrounded, sometimes we satiate things. It's kind of almost like a devil card type of thing, where you try to fill a void within yourself that cannot be filled with the way you're trying to, ingest or do something. And it's a temporary fix to a solution, to something that needs a more permanent solution. And essentially, this lack of grounding is causing them to act in trying to receive things in a personal gratification kind of way. Instant personal gratification, I want to point this out. So it looks like they approach you in this, attractive way. And this is definitely the feeling of like they are so sweet, they're all into you, and then they seem to disappear because they can't handle it. They're afraid, they're too close, it's too much. So take all of this, you could say food for thought, if you will, just some things to contemplate. But overall, there is an interest, and the interest is so serious that it's causing them to be terribly fearful and realize how much they need to work on inside, because we don't know we want something until, like, the best way to put it is like, let's say you don't have the money for something yet, and then out of nowhere you want this thing and you're like, oh no, I'm not prepared at all. It's like that. It's like they didn't know they should have been working on and solving these bigger issues, and then this is how everything essentially popped up. You basically accidentally triggered in them. So they do think of you well, but I do find it kind of concerning that they're not more specific. You know what I mean? Like, they're just kind of, it's clear they're very into you. They want to be around you, but they just don't seem to have a deeper, more complementary word set. It's like they're more focused on their insecurities than you. I'm just making that be known. Sometimes, well, not actually sometimes, all the time, tarot has a way of giving that much more information when you read in between the lines like that. It's like, why is their insecurities taking more of the precedent than how they feel about you? So again, all things to just consider and think about. But to end it on more of a positive note, you're kind of the bee's knees, essentially. You're rocking people's world out here. You're very attractive, and you're making people want to be around you for a long time and shift their whole realities. And who doesn't love that sort of powerful energy? So good on you. If you enjoyed this reading, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. I am wishing you the best and look forward to seeing you in the next one. But let's get ready for group number 3.
Group number 3. Let's find out, what do they think about you by looking at the cards. We have Ghostlands Oracle Upright. What? Amazonite Upright? That's a what, not of negativity, but just like, that's a weird one to get. My like third eye's twitching on that one. Let's see what else is going on. Sorry. 3 of Wands Upright, Judgment. What? Hold on. I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna pull some more cards. Oh! Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, I gotta put this on here. This felt like this. Okay. So we have... Okay. So we have two different situations going on here. I'm going to be sharing both because they're helpful. And you will know which situation you are, trust me, by what we talk about. So I'll come back to those cards in one moment. Okay. So the reason why I was confused is when we start off with the Ghostlands Oracle card, this is somebody who essentially is running around mentally, like they're stuck in the past, they're thinking of the future. And that can be interpreted a couple different ways because they could be so excited about being with you that they kind of are a little bit too much in the future, and this can cause your brain to kind of go a little tizzy because you're so excited and in crush or in love or something like that. But it also is a little worrying if it's the past, because that implies there could be someone else that they haven't quite gotten over or something like that. You know what I mean? And then we get this sort of like ominous tale with the Amazonite. Amazonite talks about the idea of like truth and like natural flowing of events, as in like the truth will come to light if you just let the universe work itself out. Go with it. It's all kind of meant to be. Don't worry about it. Just go with it, sort of thing. Again, not super specific. We're getting into sort of like, we're getting out of, so the thing with tarot is like, tarot's going to do what's going to do. So we are talking about how they feel about you, but we're definitely getting a prediction going on here too, which is interesting and important, especially when we have this going on and what's going on in the other cards. So, I'll just tell you right now, this is some major relationship-y vibes when we have judgment pop up. Because judgment is when the universe tests you guys together because it's seeing, do you want to be together? What's going on? And when you overcome it, if you choose to, if it's something that you feel you can, it just strengthens the relationship, and it's a really positive thing. And if it doesn't work out, it's a good thing too, because it was basically like the universe inserting itself and being like, listen, we're going to really help you here or save you a lot of trouble, essentially. So it's always a blessing in disguise, as much as it's difficult to get the judgment card initially. It's not necessarily a bad thing, if you know what I mean. But here's the thing where it gets kind of confusing, and this is why the other cards popping up can interpret two different ways. So we have this confrontation going on, and it's mostly due to their influence. We can see you getting upset in the Queen of Swords and getting kind of even like aggressive with your words and just defending yourself and feeling pretty upset, but you're just not. But they don't see you as an inherently negative person. They're aware of what they're causing over here in the Page of Swords in reverse. This is when somebody is assuming the worst. They are not very nice themselves, and they're the ones that are starting the fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just defending yourself and caught off guard and being like, you want to go there? You know what I'm saying? So they don't view you as somebody that's like inherently aggressive or that type of vibe. It's just, I'm being shown what's happening and more of their self-awareness of the situation. But the thing that it gets confusing and weird is in the Fool card and the Three of Wands. The Fool card talks about how they knowingly take these risks and pick these fights with you. They're aware of it. They know they shouldn't, but they still do it. And it's done out of the unusual, and this is why I say it's unusual and why I need to pull more cards. For this card pops up when people do things for instant gratification, and therefore obviously it hurts the relationship. This is somebody who's solving problems because that's how they feel happy. They just do what makes them happy instantly rather than solving the problem. But that's a pretty unique case. Like, why would, picking a fight with you make things better? It definitely is implying something else. And we'll get to that. And then the Three of Wands is interesting because the Three of Wands can imply that this is them, it starts off confusing, weird, you're not quite sure where the relationship's going. We know that with the Ghostlands vibe, we know that with the confrontation situation going on, the intensity of the Judgment card, but it's an extremely positive omen that everything in the end will end up working out. It's just a little confusing in the beginning because of the way the messages are taking too long to get back and forth and maybe not in the right way. And in today's situation, the way people communicate, I'm so sorry, it's out of focus. It's super easy to misinterpret or be like, oh, should I wait to message them again, or did they see my message on the other social app? You see what I'm saying? Like, very normal and whatever. But let's get a lot more specific over here with the instant gratification and the other meaning of the Three of Wands. I can't help but wonder if there's someone else. There's two interpretations here. One of the interpretations is that there could be someone else. I'm so sorry, I'm just reading the cards. But that doesn't mean it's the only interpretation. So you'll know if you're wondering if there is someone else. We'll get more specific. You'll see if that's the other interpretation as you. The reason why I felt that is it feels like in the Fool card they're picking the battles because they want to go enjoy the personal gratification with the other person, and we can see that they're like texting them, essentially. That's what usually the Three of Wands talks about, sort of messages in that kind of way, like texting, email, that kind of sort of thing. And then in the Moon card, I thought it was really interesting. It felt like that because the Moon card is battling it out between a secret admirer from afar, or it's battling it out in the case of like information needing to be revealed that you misinterpreted your interaction with them, essentially. And then the Death card is basically this huge, weird, again, ambiguous omen. The Judgment card, I can usually get a lot more specific card depending on the tone of the other cards around it and be like, oh yeah, don't worry, you're being tested, but it's going to be all okay. I'm not quite sure because when the Death card pops up, this also implies this big sense of change and metamorphosis in the relationship. But it's being it hasn't quite, it's like it's being prevented from finishing due to this other potential person or understanding this impression of them. Because the Death card explicitly talks about someone meeting with someone from their past. Again, this goes back to the Ghostlands Oracle card. This vibe of like they can't quite get out of the past. They're being told in the cards that if there is this other person, it's not gonna end anywhere with this other person. It doesn't mean anything. It's like they're holding on to a fantasy, so to speak. But whether they're with this other person or understanding this information, it needs to come to light and be discussed, or you need to understand who they truly are in order to finally have this figured out. Whatever needs to be left behind will get naturally left behind, and then this evolution will most likely lead to either you guys being together or not being together, because most likely when you find out there's someone else, the thing being left behind is them, and you live your best life and find someone better. But the tone takes another vibe. I do want to also mention this can imply three different people, another person being here and, information being brought to light again, and all that jazz. But the other vibe, here's the other vibe, because this is a general reading. The Three of Wands can talk about the idea of needing to be social, that it will help the relationship. That's what's being tested. It will be for the best. It's like you're spending too much time alone. That gets confirmed over here in the Three of Pentacles. This is when you as a couple are spending too much time alone, and your relationship would benefit a lot by just simply being with other people. It's like you're kind of accidentally getting on each other's nerves too much, essentially. It's kind of wonderful it's a much different situation going on here. And essentially, that's what's causing the vibe of like people bickering, you're with each other too much, the instant gratification gets answered because they're just trying to like, if they feel like there's some sort of tension being built, they just want to almost like bring it to light and then rip the Band-Aid, if you will. It's like they think there's going to be a battle because they're feeling this tension there from being with each other, too much and not having enough of that diversity socially. It doesn't mean anything negative if you need to have other people socially in your group at all for a relationship. I want to point that out. But then that's where the Amazonite makes more sense, because it's like, listen, it's just naturally working itself out. You're going to naturally start hanging out with friends more. It was kind of all going to work itself out, go with the flow of chain of events. That's where the Ghostlands makes sense, because they're bouncing around thinking about the future and excitement of like doing other things, and they're thinking of the past and how that was working, and they're kind of bouncing around because this current moment is just a little tense right now. Again, it doesn't at all say that they view you negatively. In both cases, it's just more of a general energy that it's funny. It's like basically what's popping up is them saying, I love you, but I want to evolve with you. And right now, we're not evolving, and it's driving me a little crazy. I love you. I want to evolve with you. Let's evolve. It doesn't mean they think you're boring. It just means they're ready for the next stage in their relationship and they would like to share that with you, which is pretty darn wonderful and amazing. And honestly, I feel like with the matching energy over here at the Page of Swords and the Queen of Swords in reverse, there's just this vibe of like, they almost like pick arguments with you sort of like out of respect in an ironic way, because they feel like you can handle it and you get their energy and vice versa. So I just think that's super funny. And not the best way to handle it. Definitely a risk and a gamble that's not worth taking, but it's like done out of like, you get me, this is how we'll handle it. And you're like, can you leave me alone? So with the other case, it's going to naturally work itself out. With the first one I mentioned, that's just up to you and what you want to do. If you feel like there's not any arguing and there's sort of like this distant look in their eye and they're kind of keeping to themselves, yeah, I would be aware essentially of what they're doing. So yeah, anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, comment, subscribe. Have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in your videos. I'm trying to talk as fast as I can as my neighbor's dog. Please give it a like and comment, subscribe for that alone. Have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4. Let's find out what they think of you by looking at the cards. Your oracle cards are Bone Collector, Upright, and Spirit Quartz. I love all crystals, but I love Spirit Quartz. You've got 10 of Swords in reverse, Page of Swords reverse, King of Wands upright, King of Pentacles upright, and 5 of Cups upright. So let me look at this. Oh, this is so... Oh, this is a keeper. Oh, I'm getting a little teary-eyed. This is so sweet. Oh, this is so unbelievably... This is just so sweet. I cannot with this. I love this. So, first off, I say this with love and respect, but they keep pointing out to me that you've been pretty badly hurt. You got out of there before anything got too dodgy. I can see over here in the 10 of Swords in reverse. Good for you. You really did the thing that you got away from. It was going to turn out a lot worse, and they're very acutely aware of that, and there's a lot of admiration. I just want to point this out. It's necessary to talk about this, to talk about their perspective of you. But I can see over here, and here, and even here, that there's, you've been through some things. The Bone Collector talks about somebody, though, and this is where the compliments set in. It's a good thing that they are aware of it, and they just admire you and have so much love and respect for you that despite what you've gone through, you keep pushing forward. This is really beautiful. So the Bone Collector is somebody who's still like working out some stuff. They're still maybe accidentally, I wouldn't say projecting. It's more like the way you're personally interacting with the world. You might not take it out, because I don't see any sign of you taking it out on them or anyone else. It's more they can see how you interact with something, and then maybe you think of a memory and you're processing it, and they can see that you're going through pain. But they love that you're kind of trying to understand that, you're figuring it out, and they admire that you're someone who is proactive in solving their own problems. They love, by the way, Spirit Quartz, they absolutely love your spirituality. They really, really love your general sense of like harmony and love and community. It's like you're still trying to feel together with people, again, despite the past. they really keep doing it. They're all about it. They think it's really cool and beautiful, and they connect with that. They just overall have so much. I keep being shown this, like, this is like really cute image that you're kind of like a kitten and they're hugging you. They don't see you as a pet. They just see you in a very sweet way of like, wow, look at you go. Like, they admire it so much. So again, we can see that you've been through some stuff, but you got out of there. Good for you. But they do notice that you put yourself down a lot. They don't think it's warranted. They feel for you that you do that, but it's just an observational thing. It's not like a judgment thing. That's just something to notice. So if you're not aware of it, they are, that they think that you unnecessarily put yourself down. That gets confirmed over here in these two cards, because the King of Wands is like, they gave you two kings. I want to point that out. In two pretty significant aspects in life. King of Wands is somebody who is the king or ruler. They are the master of passion. They are good at, they have enough experience and energy when it comes to executing ideas. They are somebody who's totally in control. They know what they want to do. They're focused. They're making it happen. They're going out of their way to do it. They've been through things. They understand things. They know how, they have a sort of sense of humor. I don't feel the vibe that they feel that you personally have a sense of humor. I'm sure you do, but it's more the perspective of the King of Wands is somebody who has a sense of humor because they understand the salamander eating its tail, the rebirth and death. It's like you've experienced the best and the worst, and you rightfully deserve your expertise in what you like to do. So they really love learning from you and seeing the way you handle things and go about things, and they feel that you have just a really strong likability factor, and there's definitely attraction here. I do want to point that out. They are definitely, physically attracted into you, which is really cool. But the King of Pentacles is another compliment. This is somebody who is a master of manifestation because they love doing what they do. This often pops up when people are really good at like business, or you can just think of it like the act of going about earning money, like you're like the way you handle things and you're in the moment. Like it could be anything from like, let's say you're a barista and you think about how to make the coffee even better and how can this work more efficiently, that sort of vibe. That's why that person is such a great manifester, because they enjoy that process so much, so they're never afraid of working more, and therefore they're able to kind of see how things connect and work. So they admire your hard work, they admire what you've been through, they think you're really attractive. There's a lot of like thinking you're really cool, but also seeing somebody who needs a hug and love. And that definitely gets continued over here with that sense of grief in the Five of Cups. They do think that you're doing much better than you realize, but they do notice that you kind of more focus on where you've been. It doesn't mean they think that you're there all the time. They just, you're not, the page, with the Five of Cups, this is somebody who has good stuff going on, and they just choose to see all the things that have spilt. So it's like a perspective card. At any given point, you can turn around, see the rainbow, still see that you have some more cups on your side. And you often do, but you're not quite at that point yet where you've fully turned around, and you acknowledge that behind you there's some cups that have been spilt. But, most of the given time you're here. And that's fine. That's okay. They're very excited for you in the transition, and they believe in you, and they think that you're not only intelligent enough, but you're intelligent because you made the right decision when you needed to, for the reasons we spoke about. But they also are very patient and like cool with you taking your time. They just feel a little sad when they see someone so wonderful try to bring themselves down, especially when you share so much love and harmony and compassion and positivity for everybody else but yourself and your circumstance. You're getting there. Don't worry. Bone Collector and Spirit Cords could not be more of a beautiful, positive omen from your spirit guides that like, it's going to be great. You're going to come to the other side. You're going to look back at this and not be someone who forgets, but like doesn't have them define them and doesn't repress it. They see it and they can ultimately look back and have almost the perspective of like, wow, that all happened as it is, or wow, I learned this and I love myself now, and da da da. So super, for me, very metal, because it's very easy to just be like, I'm so happy that's over, I don't think about it anymore. This is about embracing it. In the long term, your journey is about embracing it and then moving it into your favor, but not letting it define you. So I'm very excited for you because it does get better. But this is somebody who just truly cares about you enough to see and admire every single side, including the parts of ourselves we maybe think we're hiding. You're not doing too great of a job with them, or they're just really good at reading you. So super, super sweet. I love this. If you enjoyed this reading as much as I did, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!